People were talking about V and Karina being seen together at a W Korea event. We have some videos of that has come out of that event that are trending and being widely discussed. And then we have Jimin confirming a romance that he may or may not have. So Dumplings, is Dave Disci. Let's get into it. People were really upset after Jimin decided to do a live stream for his birthday. During the live stream, he did talk about his experience in the military and brought up an interesting story that happened with JK. They were listening to an OST called Your Name while jogging, and apparently JK went ahead of Jimin, and it seemed as if he had crossed the curve and turned the corner, and then Jimin followed shortly after. During the time when Jimin got to the curve and was able to turn and see JK, JK was revealed during when the beat dropped of the song, and Jimin mentioned how that felt like a movie. Of course, this whole explanation of where JK and Jimin were is unclear to me because it's translated from Korean to English, but this is what I believe the translation was supposed to be. People were not happy about this, and for interesting reasons, as many were talking about the fact that Jimin had this ongoing dating rumor that he has yet to address, and now he's trying to allegedly divert attention and trying to feed the shipping community. So there's a lot of people who definitely believe that the ship is not real, as Jimin would have dated Song and would have dated a woman. And so people are not happy that it seems almost like a ploy to try to trick or divert attention away from the dating rumor by trying to feed into this fan service that I think a lot of people have lost belief in at this point. I want to get into some of the comments that were said, specifically one from someone who's accusing Jimin of hiding from fans for months, and then now he's come back to feed into shipping and fan service. And I guess the issue is he's not addressing the dating rumor. I hate the word hiding. It's incredibly insulting to people's times, their job, everything. You don't know what he was doing during that time that he was allegedly hiding. You don't know how busy he was. You don't know much about how much work him and the rest of the BTS members are putting into their album. But to accuse him of hiding as if there's nothing else to do except for him to just sit in his room and hide from the community and not say anything, Jimin has never been the most active person in the BTS group. He often disappears for months at a time without saying anything, and oftentimes when nothing's even happening. Like there's no reason for him to disappear, he'll sometimes just do it. Some people will call it betrayal, the fact that he's doing it. I call it taking a mental break, taking the time that you need, but also taking the time that you might need to create something. We live in this day and age where updates happen so frequently in general online and from a lot of celebrities that's what we think normal is, when it's not. It's normal to hop on a stream or hop on social media and give constant updates on things. In fact, it can feel like work to Jimin if you're introverted, and I believe he is. But also there were comments saying that Jimin has been exposed for having a relationship, when in reality none of that is really exposed. The alleged statement that would confirm this romantic interest between the two was released by news sites. It was never released on Weverse or any official BTS or HYBE channel. It is very easy for things to get published without fact-checking them from the publisher. If someone wanted to hurt Jimin's name or someone wanted to do something nefarious with Jimin, they could very well pretend to be HYBE and send out fake press releases. And I'm not saying that that's for sure what happened, but I'm saying since it wasn't posted on any official channels of Big Hit or HYBE or Weverse, we don't know how legit the statement actually is. And I want to emphasize that. Some of these things you have to think about, and you have to think about the sources or some of the stuff that has come out in general. But recently we do have some sort of direct source to something that did happen, which is a little bit shocking. V was seen sitting across or chatting with Winter, and a lot of people were very surprised at just how close the BTS members might actually be with the group aespa. Like, are they actually fully close in terms of friends at the very least? Or is the dating rumor with JK and V, could that hold some truth or some merit? The video shows V sitting across from Winter. They're just chatting about something. If we kind of see that he kind of walks up and walks away. They were chatting very briefly, it seems, or maybe they were chatting for a while, but the person recording this only caught the tail end of it and only noticed the conversation at the tail end of it. So we have no idea what's actually going on here. People were saying that likely what was happening was Winter was asking V for advice on JK, since JK is so close with V. Some people went as far as to say that Winter would be V's sister-in-law. I don't know if this is a translation error or something like this, but in no way would that ever be what was going on. While all of the boys are like brothers and they are the closest family members ever, and anything like that can be true, they're not actually blood-related family members. They would never call their bandmate's significant other their sister-in-law, because there's nothing inherently wrong with believing that. It's fun. It's a cute thing to say and to believe and to talk about. But if you couple it with things like what's happening here, where Winter's clearly trying to get advice, it's very delusional. You have to get back and say, okay, this was already delusional to begin with. It needs to be broken down like this, because the general statement here is insane. What probably happened, and what very likely happened, was that they both saw each other, they both just went to say hi, they exchanged pleasantries, they had a few things that they said to each other, and then they just left. This was the issue with BTS going to parties in general, at least from my perspective, and probably a reason why they didn't want to go to parties in general, because they don't want to be on the news the next day for talking to someone. Now we're seeing the boys kind of go to parties, probably because they have to, and this is the way to promote themselves now. And they're talking like they're just saying hi because they're in the same room together. Why wouldn't they just say hi to each other? And people are now assuming that there's a relationship going on. There was also another video that came out from W Korea themselves, where they interviewed all of the BTS members that were at the party and asked about what they were doing in terms of new music. All of them quickly talked about what was going on and things like a new album. Obviously, we knew that they were going to do that, but now they put a specific date to it. And this was very clear that that was the point of why they were at this party. They wanted to promote their music, and they got a chance to do that. And giving it a date, which is only about 5 months away, this is definitely something to look forward to and be very excited about. It's one thing to hear it from the label, it's another to hear it directly from the boys, so this is very cool. Now, this wasn't the only interaction that V had with one of the aespa members. It was shown that V was sitting right next to Karina. I don't know the exact context of this video, as oftentimes in parties, the little snippets that come out are completely taken out of context and they do not show what's fully going on. So if there's a dance party that's happening, for example, they're going to show bits and pieces of that dance party, but not explain exactly what was in the itinerary and what those plans were for that night and stuff like that. In this video, we kind of see V dancing around. He's not really looking at Karina, but he's kind of making movements. And it seems as if he was aware that a lot of people in that moment were recording him. So for some reason, the spotlight was on V at that moment. This was interesting because maybe V was aware that this was going to cause the internet to go crazy because of obviously who he was sitting next to. Now, for events like this, and especially ones that have a dinner, these seats are assigned to you. It's not like everyone can just sit wherever. Most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, in fact, I've been to events like this, and there's usually some sort of seating arrangement. If not exactly where to sit, it'll be that they have to sit at the same table, so even if the two didn't end up sitting next to each other, even if they sat across from each other, that still would have been a huge situation as well. Some people were saying that this was confirmation that V and Karina were in fact in a relationship, and they must have spent a lot of time at that event. So even if they weren't in a relationship before this, they might be in a relationship now. Some people have mentioned the fact that Karina's type, and the one that she has mentioned before, Unknowing Brothers, I believe, you know, describes V pretty accurately. Things like black hair, being 5'10", and that sort of stuff. However, I've actually seen the majority of the community just be very excited about this interaction rather than them being upset that there is this interaction. And I'm really glad, because this could be a moment where the BTS community starts attacking Karina and calling her ugly, and it could be a moment in which the aespa community does the same to V. But while I've seen those moments are definitely far and few in between. And it's interesting when people who are trying to supposedly defend Karina are calling V ugly and saying that Karina would never date someone as ugly as him. V is not ugly by any stretch of the imagination, nor does he and Karina look that different. They obviously don't look alike, right? They have very different features, but they're both Korean and have similar features, such as perhaps their nose shape being kind of similar, right? Like one's not much bigger than the other or whatever. They're both kind of similar in that way. Their eyes are about the same size, right? One, again, is not bigger than the other by a lot. They have clear skin. So you know what I mean? Like, they have very similar features because those are the features that are desirable in the K-pop space. So calling one ugly really doesn't benefit anyone here. It really just makes everyone look terrible. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.